From 1450s to the 1860s, millions of slaves from Africa were forced to live in harsh conditions and work for long hours a day in the New World, the Americas. Europeans traded manufactured goods to the West Africans with purchased or kidnapped slaves and transported them in the Americas. This trade transport was called the Middle Passage, which was part of the three-way triangular trade.
Thanks for tuning into our Next Gen History Radio. Today we are with a special guest who will tell us about slavery and their resistance. Let's welcome Eric Zhang.
Hey man.
So Eric, first tell us, what was the resistance to slavery?
Resistance to slavery was the act of opposing and rebelling by slaves against their masters who were white.
Ah, okay then. So why did the slaves rebel their masters?
You see, the slaves' masters treated them very harshly. They were denied basic human rights by their master. Some of the human rights by their masters include separating a slave from their families, not allowing slaves to speak an African language. Only the master's language was allowed, and the lack of supply of food, water, and clothing. Slaves didn't like the long hours of doing hard labor, as at the end of the day, the labor offered little reward. Another reason why they rebelled their masters was because of the character of the white people in the area. They were very offensive to these people and slaves, and treated them no better than wild animals.
I want you to expand a bit more on my previous questions. So since the slaves resisted their masters, what methods did they use to resist them?
This is a very good question. You see, there were two types of resistance by slaves to their masters. Passive resistance was non-violent and was by individual. There were many variations to this type of resistance. Variations include refusal to work, wasting time on the work, and faking illness so they don't have to work for long hours a day. Also, running away from the slaves' masters and suicide are considered as passive rebellion. Another form of resistance is active resistance, which was the slaves' revolt. Slave revolt is a rebellion against their master. This rebellion usually involves arms such as hammers and knives.
Thank you. Could you tell me more about runaway slaves then?
Slaves who ran away from their masters were very stupid, as it was useless since their master could easily find out. When caught, they would be given harsh penalties such as whipping, separating the slaves from their families, or the death penalty. For most slaves, running away would be done for a short period of time. However, rarely did the slaves run away or escape permanently from their masters.
Okay, you know when you talked about slave revolt, name me one event that had slave rebellion in it. Could you describe it to me?
The Haitian Revolution was a rebellion when hundreds of thousands of slaves toppled the French settlers out of government. Prior to this rebellion, Haiti was one of the richest areas in the world due to its abundance of sugar and tobacco, which were considered expensive during the time. Haiti produced about 40% of France's foreign trade. However, there was a huge difference between the population of the Africans and whites. There were only 25,000 white people and 500,000 slaves and freed Africans. Many key players led to the Haiti or Saint Dominique to be independent from France. The first president of independent Haiti, Pierre Dominique Toussaint Louverture, led to the slaves to defeat the French and expelled all invading forces. On the opposing side, Charles Leclerc, Napoleon's brother-in-law, was sent to restore the island of Saint Dominique and to instill slavery. But he died due to the yellow fever and lost against the Haitians. There are many results of this revolution, including Napoleon giving up on the New World and selling Louisiana to the United States, and Haiti become the first independent non-European state to be created out of the European empires.
Ah, okay then. So tell me more about the journey of the slaves and when they were traveling from Africa to the America, and how is this resistance related to journey?
The journey for these African slaves was very difficult due to the lack of food given by the Europeans, lack of space in the ship, and the fact that they were chained together, one right foot shackled together with another person's left foot. Most were given about an hour of sunshine, which was not enough vitamin D levels. Most slaves were exhausted due to oppressive and extreme heat. Air was very humid, foul, and putrid. This allowed many to get diseases such as fever, smallpox. With lack of food and diseases, people on ships were dying really quickly. It's estimated that 1 in 5 slaves died on the journey. Resistance to traveling to America resulted in people jumping off the ship to sea, which was called suicide and is categorized as passive rebellion.
So why did slaves resist the journey then?
Well, like I said before, slaves resisted the journey because of the appalling and harsh conditions of the ship and the bad treatment by their masters.
Thanks, Eric. I'm sure that we have learned a lot today.
No problems. It was a pleasure to be here today and share my knowledge.
Next week, we will have another speaker, Gordon Lee,